Hey everybody, it's Mr. Rosen here. Today's lesson, what I want to talk to you about is about compass directions and bearings. So compass directions and bearings. Now this video is going to be all of, regards to trigonometry and math, that sort of thing, okay? So when you're asked to do compass directions in a question, the first thing you have to know is you have to know your standard compass. So your standard compass looks like this. So we have north, east, south, and west. And the way to easily remember this thing is never eat shredded wheat. Never eat shredded wheat. That's going to give you the order in how to do this in a clockwise fashion. So never eat shredded wheat. N-E-S-W. Being able to label a compass is crucial for these types of questions, because if you get that wrong, then everything else is going to be wrong based on your questions, okay? So now let me give you some examples. So let's say I was asked to draw in this direction. So N, 30 degree, and then E, like that. What this means is it's north, 30 degrees east. So the way you draw that is you start at the north and then you turn 30 degrees towards the east, and that's where you draw your line. So essentially it looks like this. Now I'm not using a ruler. You would normally do this with a ruler, make it nice and neat. But essentially, this is how this direction would be drawn. It would look like this right here. And then this angle would be 30 degrees right there. So you go north and then you turn 30 degrees towards the east. So that's how that line would look. Now sometimes in a trig question, you might for some reason need to know this angle right here. Maybe this is where your triangle is going to be on the right side, right? This angle, you could get that. You could just say that it's 90 minus 30 equals 60. So this is 60 degrees right there. So there is actually an alternative way of describing this angle. You could actually say that this is east, 60 degrees north, and it would draw the exact same line. Okay, so this is the exact same thing as well. So, but the top one is the one we're looking at. So it's north, 30 degrees east. Let's do another example. Let's say I give you west, 50 degrees north. So what would this look like? So west, 50 degrees north. You're going to draw your compass directions first. North, never eat shredded wheat. So we're going to start from the west and we're going to go 50 degrees towards the north. It's going to be kind of like this. And it's going to be in this direction. Start from the west, go towards the north, 50 degrees right there. So that's how that line would look. I didn't do it super accurately here, but that would be essentially what it looks like. Now, if you had to, you could figure out this angle as well. This angle would be 40 because the whole thing is 90. So that's 40. So sometimes you might need that in the context of a question. Let's do another one. Let's do south, 20 degrees east. So south, 20 degrees east. How that would look, this is my east, this is my south. It'd be south, 20 degrees towards the east. So it's like this direction. 20 degrees goes right there. Now, again, if we needed this angle, this would be 70. Okay, so that's how you read compass directions. So those ones are pretty easy in my opinion. They're not really that difficult to draw out. If you have to do, like in the context of a word problem, you might have to do multiple compass directions. So let me give you a quick example here. This is a word problem I'm looking at from an old lesson that I have. But I'll write it out first. I wish I had it on my screen already, but I'll write it. So a ship travels due east at night. The ship's navigator spots a lighthouse on a direction of north 40 degrees east after the ship sails east for 800 meters, the new direction to the lighthouse is north 48 degrees west. How far away is the ship from the lighthouse now? Okay. So this is an example of a trig word problem which would involve compass directions. So let's see if we can draw this picture here. So it says the ship is traveling due east. Due east means it's going to the right, okay? And it spots a lighthouse at a direction of north 40 degrees east. So after it keeps going east for 800 meters, we got a new direction to the lighthouse. It's now north 48 degrees west. How far away is it? Okay, so let's take a look here. So here's our start position, like this. So I'm going to draw a little mini compass right here. And I'm going to start right here. Now, I know that my ship is going to be going due east, so it's going to go look like that, okay? Initially, though, it says that I can see the lighthouse at a direction of north 40 degrees east. So if this is east this way, and this is north up here, north 40 degrees east would be this way. This angle right here is 40, so it's north 40 degrees east. So somewhere up there, I can see my lighthouse. Let's call that L. Then I go to the east, right, for 800 meters. And then I end up at some position over here. So this is going to be 800 meters. And I'm going to draw another new little compass thing right here. Now, from my new spot, it says that I can now see the lighthouse at north 48 degrees towards the west. So the west is over on the left. So what's happening now is that I'm starting from the north. We go this direction. This is 48 degrees. So it's north 48 degrees towards the west. And then that's where the lighthouse is now. So we're asking how far away is the ship from the lighthouse now? So the end position is on the right. So what I need actually is this length right here. So I'm not going to solve it. But what you essentially would do here is you would have to go 180 minus 40. That will give you this angle right here. So this would end up, sorry, not 180, 90 minus 40. This ends up being 50 degrees, okay? On the right-hand side here, you'd have to go 90 minus 48 to figure out this internal angle here. This internal angle ends up being 42. And once you've done that, you're going to realize that this is actually a sine law question. So for sine law, what you'd have to do is you'd have to figure out the angle at the top right here. And the angle at the top would be 180 minus 50 minus 42, which I believe gives you 88 degrees. So this is 88. And once you've got that, now you've got an angle with its opposite side. So to solve this, you would go x over sine 50 equals 800 over sine 88, and that's how you would solve this thing, okay? But those compass directions were the real reason why I was talking about this. So the compass directions, it starts off that the lighthouse is north 40 degrees east. That's the one on the left here, and it ends up with the compass direction of north 48 degrees west. Okay, so that's the one on the right. So that's how you'd set up this problem, and then you would solve it using the sine law. Now, another thing you need to be aware of, besides directions in this style, is something called bearings. Now, bearings is a little bit different. Bearings, they always start at 0 degrees. And 0 degrees, basically what that means is straight north. And it always goes clockwise. It always goes clockwise. So if you said, for example, we have a bearing of 20 degrees, what does that look like? That looks like this. Here's your compass directions. It'd be 20 degrees this direction right here. 20 degrees. That's how you would draw that. If you were to draw in a bearing of 100 degrees, what that would look like is this. It would actually be right here. This would be 100 degrees. Now that first chunk is 90, so this little sliver right here is 10 degrees if you needed that. But that's what a bearing would look like. Now what you can do is you can actually convert your normal compass direction into bearing and back and forth, as long as you understand how they work. So for example, if you're given east 30 degrees south, so what that would look like is this. Here's east, here's south. It's east 30 degrees south is right here. So what we would have to do is figure out this entire angle right here. So the way you'd figure that out, essentially, it's going to be 90 degrees plus the 30 degrees, which gives you a bearing of 120 degrees. This is the bearing. So you can basically do it either way. So compass directions sometimes are described as bearings, and they can also be described as, east 30 degrees south, like that style. I like that style a lot more than bearings, but either way, you need to be comfortable working back and forth with each one. So hopefully bearings make some sense to you, and hopefully the way we list compass directions with the north, south, east, west, they also make sense to you. So yeah, use that to solve your trig questions when they come up in the word problems, and hopefully you learned a little bit in this lesson here.